Now you're locked in with this person, and now you see all of this stuff that you either didn't know or you don't like. But now it's hard for you to say, oh, this isn't working out because you have a lease or you have a kid on the way or you've already got married.
I think men sometimes get frustrated with women trying to tell them what it means to be a man. And maybe he's just not being the man that you want him to be in that moment. And it can go vice versa, women to men. But maybe he's being the man that he feels God is leading him to be. Welcome back to another episode of the Randy Wilson Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Wilson, and today I have my co-host with me, Nikki Shaw. What's up, Nikki?
Good morning.
Glad to see you made it back again, Nikki.
I'm back in the chair.
We could talk about it a little bit. We definitely caught some engagement over the past week.
Okay.
Before we get into this episode, though, we want to make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, tell somebody about the show, and remember, you can catch this podcast everywhere podcasts are played. But I'm going to encourage you, if you're listening, go over to YouTube so you can actually capture the visual as well. You can also learn more at randywilsonpodcast.com. So this is our second episode together as a tandem. And have you got any feedback in regard to, tell me what it's been like? Like, you captured some...
I was nervous.
Yeah.
And but people said that they didn't notice that I was nervous, which was surprising because the people that I talked to about it, they know me very well. So if they said I didn't seem nervous, I guess I pulled it off.
I didn't think you was nervous. I mean, I thought you was nervous prior to the episode, but once the conversation, that's only because we talked about it.
Right.
But once the conversation got going and I watched and on the playback, I didn't see. What was you nervous about? You've done a bunch of podcasts.
I know, but it's just the camera being in my face. It just doesn't. It never gets easier. I don't know. No. But as far as the interaction, the conversation, the topics that we went over, people thought that it flowed really well, and that we're funny. That we
humor.
Our interaction is comical to people, I guess.
That's good.
So I guess that's a good thing.
Whatever works is what needs to work. I kind of thought it was going to be, though. I'm not going to lie. Because I think there's going to be like a sense of accountability that kind of comes with it.
Right.
I know one thing, looking at some of the insights and just the engagement, I told you, I don't know if my shows have been soft enough in a lot of circumstances, just based on how people receive me. Because historically, I got like a 65, 35, male to female, more male.
Right.
But it flipped completely.
Oh, okay.
It completely flipped,
Good.
which says that more people, which is great, because more people was interested because of your input.
Well, hey, I'm glad to help. This is exciting.
It was exciting. So I think we're gonna piggyback a little bit today off of last week's conversation.
Okay.
We got into the relationships. Again, we still trying to stay into that algorithm with Dr. Umar and Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. We trying to stay in that algorithm. Hopefully,
I got a lot of comments about that when they, because you dropped the sound bites first, but then when people actually got to see, there were people that saw the playback of it before I did. So
so tell me
because
about
of how my work day was, so people were like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Wait, you saw it before? I didn't. I hadn't had a chance to listen to the whole thing." So people tapped in.
So what was you hearing?
And
I haven't even looked at the audio.
Okay.
So I'm interested to go look at the numbers there, because I didn't even. A lot of people just listen when they're driving. Was your people listening or watching?
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure about which one they did, but definitely about the high value man and woman, and talking about when you were talking about like having to have two, and then when I was saying if it's fine for them to have two, but can we have two as well? Yeah, because that's always the thing. The standard is different. It's okay for y'all to do things, but it's frowned upon, or it's not okay for us. Yeah. And so it's like that's my thing. Like you kept saying, you sure you're not judging? I'm not judging, because it's their relationship. What works for them. But from my standpoint, it's no way that you can have two people if I don't have the option to have two people too.
But I mean, I guess the reason why I came at it from saying judging, like, first off, like, I mean, I don't know why anybody want more than one. I mean, me personally, like,
right, yeah.
Like when I was young and younger and of the world, of the world out
in
here
the streets.
sinning just sinning
in the street.
I never was that guy though that was like having more than one relationship. Because now it's one thing if you're not in a relationship and you just seeing people.
Right.
I think that's different. You just seeing people. There's no commitment. But like if you're going to be committed to more than one person, that seems stressful to me and expensive.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's stressful, expensive, and it gets watered down because you can't give that undivided like time and attention because you're literally splitting up. Ooh.
So my question is kind of like, why would I think that, and this is a good a place to pick up at. You mentioned that. Well, can I have two? But do you really want more than one? I mean,
no.
I think these conversations can't help but to be somewhat personal because we're talking from a perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, what can two men provide you that one man can't?
Well, I mean, so I'm like you that. I've always been told that I don't date well because in the phases of my life that I was dating, I always ended up in a relationship because I'm great at multitasking things, work, family, situations. I don't multitask men well because y'all are needy. It takes that. So for me, it's a lot of time and attention and effort that goes into dating so if I'm going to date to be in a relationship, then I want to figure out is it going to work with this person or not. For me, but again, there are some people that can date multiple people and they kind of get pieces of what they need from each person. So I think that when you're talking about can you be with two people, usually that's what it is. One person may be the stability, the security, and things like that, and the other person is the fun, is the adventure, is the amazing sex.
You kind of putting together what you want.
What you want because you're not getting
one
right. So you're not getting everything from one person. So you're piecing it together.
Yeah, I think that the reason why I kind of question. I mean, I would expect there to be some judgment on behalf of a man or a woman that that's out here having multiple children and I mean, it's like I'm not saying this ain't like people have children in different ways. I'm talking about it's like you on a string here of 5 in a row. You done knocked down 5 different women or men, vice versa, and got kids, and they're like stair steps. See, that's what we see with Cam Newton and Nick Cannon, and I do think to some degree there can be some judgment. I mean, who are we to judge? But at the end of the day, we human beings, and that's what we do.
Right.
And so, like, that's why I said you're not. But I don't know how I phrased it.
You something to the effect of like you're not judging.
Why the hell are you not judging? Well, is my thing because
I guess for me because it happens like you said, it happens all the time. It's just that they're in the public eye and they just have a lot more money. But
because you was making it like I felt like you were saying, but they can afford to take care of them.
No.
So that's their life.
No, what I said was I'm not so much worried about his decision or the decisions of the girls because they're public figures. They know full well what they're getting into.
Yeah.
You can go everybody. They Shade Room has a chart of him and all his kids' mothers.
Yeah.
Like it's common knowledge.
Yeah.
If he was just a random dude on the street, they lie. I got 1 kid when I really have 5. I got 1 baby mama when I have 4. And so sometimes you don't know the full story until you're invested, or you may be the next one. You knocked up before you really find out about the background. So, but my point was, I wasn't so much focusing on Nick and the kids' moms. I'm focusing on the time and attention that the kid gets. So that's what we were saying, that he can afford it. And I say, yeah, he has the money, but how much time and attention does he have? Because it's different if you got 12 kids in one house. Even that, you're fighting for attention. But if you got 12 kids and I don't know how many moms he has.
Yeah.
But even with that, you going house to house, spending time. Not saying that he's not a great dad, but it kind of waters down how much time you have to spend with the kids because they're spread around. Like it's not. But so that's what I'm saying. I'm not judging their decisions. My thing always goes back to how much time and attention do the kids get. So, and for me, that's not about money.
Cam Newton is obviously a high functioning man.
Okay. He's
Whoa. Okay. You must high value man. He's a high value man.
I think
I'm getting the impression from you. You finished this. What do you think about Cam?
It's not that. I mean, as far as being a high value man, a high value woman, it's going to be what you think about yourself. So
what do you think about him? I'm curious.
I don't have.
You think he's attractive?
No.
You don't? Mm-mm. That's not the impression I got just now when I was getting ready to say it. You got choked up.
No, I don't. Okay. I don't find him attractive.
You know he's a preacher's son.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
He is. I mean, he
comes from good stock.
He's with him, he's talented. He's an athlete. He does his podcast. He very intelligent. He, I've watched his podcast and things like that. Watch bits and pieces of them. That's not one of the podcasts that I sit and frequent. It kind of depends on who the guest is on the show. Yeah. So I watch it for who the guest is, versus not because I just like to watch his show. Yeah. He's a little too boisterous for me, I would say. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, that's just not slavery. I don't have a lot of time to watch and listen to podcasts, so I'm selective of the ones that I do. Gotcha. So, yeah.
Yeah. But you know what though?
What?
Because of his value and his just him period. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of women is out there waiting to be the next.
Oh, absolutely. Well, but that's the thing when you again.
And I don't even think it's got to do with this. I'm taking the money part away. I ain't talking about the value. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about just like you take the money aside.
Well, it's not about. Well, so that's the thing when you again. That's why I say.
And that's why I'm saying women should be judgmental. Why are you going to get caught up?
But that's the thing. What I'm saying, he sees himself as a high value man. Great, cool. Mm-hmm. But that's what I see. Or what I would be on my list of what I want for a man is different, and so it's not bad. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's not bad. It's just that's not my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. I could not be his, and that's fine too. That's the whole point. So there are plenty of women, whether it be his kids' mothers or other people, that would want to be with him.
Yeah, I just feel bad for all the conversation that's been generated around that, and the lady he's with.
They've given her a hard time. Jazzy.
Yeah. I like
she's
her.
So pretty. She's very pretty. Very, very like down to earth. She's funny.
You ever watch Zatima?
I've seen.
I like her on that show.
I've seen a few of those episodes. I'm behind on Sisters, so I didn't transition to the Zatima world because I'm behind on Sisters.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Guilty pleasures.
So, we in kind of picking up from where we left off. You played. You did your part in contributing to today's.
I did. I did my homework.
You did, and I'm looking through these notes here since you didn't want to take the lead. It's okay though. It's okay. You can be honest.
It's my second show. This is
you a pro.
Randy Wilson podcast.
You a pro.
Randy Wilson podcast.
Well, we can work on that.
No,
we can work on all this.
Quite all right.
I'm gonna look at what you got here. I'm gonna look at what you got here. So let's talk about this must-haves. Mm-hmm. How many of your must-haves for a partner do you currently possess? Like, do you have or now? So, like, I think, and let me reiterate this. We talking about must-haves. Mm-hmm. This was a thought that kind of came up in your mind.
Yeah, when you're thinking about like relationships and when you choose who you're choosing and why. A lot of times your must-have list can be unrealistic if you read that for yourself. So some of the things that I may want in a man, if I'm looking at that list and say, do I do all of these things? If I can't say yes to all of those, then I need to do some reevaluating.
I think the difference between men and women in some aspects. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying in every aspect. I just think in some aspects, though, we don't even approach the relationship from that lens. Like, must have. I don't even know if we come into a relationship in general. Again, generalist here. I don't know if we even come into a relationship with a list of must-haves. But I think it's very common. I've heard this a lot amongst women that they do have a list.
Right.
They have you got to be 6 foot tall. You got to be brown skin. Right. You got to be medium build. You got to,
well, that's kind of like what your type is. If you have a type, that's more the physical attributes.
But y'all got the must-haves on that. So give me. So then that transfers over to what, like must-have
like
6-figure job,
right? Or do you have to have a car? Do you have to have a good credit score? Do you have to have a relationship with God? What's your relationship like with your family? Do you have hobbies, interests? Do you have a life so that I know that you're not just sitting at home twiddling your fingers waiting for me to call? Things like that makes a difference to a lot of women and men.
So when so I feel like we talk about, a lot of people use it 50-50, which I think people are just talking. Like, they're not thinking about what they're saying. Like, you can't come into a relationship 50.
Well, 50
and 50 make 100, but you were 50, and that you need to be 100. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I always use this, like, if I look at my hand and you see holes in it, and then I got holes that, it's really about compatibility.
Trying to
coming together, but because some days you ain't gonna have 50.
Well, I mean, that's the point. That's why when you're thinking about whether it's relationships, long-term partners, marriages, whatever stage you're in, it has to be the give and take, because every day isn't going to be 50-50. Some days you're going to need to lean on me. Other days I'm going to need to lean on you, and have enough trust and trust in that person that they're going to be there for you through that time.
Must-haves change too.
They do.
They change. I think they change probably every 10 years.
Yeah, and honestly they should, because if you think about like those 10-year spans, we should, as people, we should never stop growing, changing, maturing, and things like that. So you shouldn't be the same person at 25 that you are at 35. And so, because if you are, then you need to be reevaluating yourself.
Yeah.
And so, because when you think about stuff like that, if there's one person in a relationship that really isn't growing and changing and the other person is, that's where a lot of the growing pains and the issues in the relationships come from, because instead of growing together, now you're growing apart.
So when you think about when you look at I think the initial way you was thinking about, you was asking a self-reflection. Are the things that I must have in this partner, are these things that I possess myself?
Right, because a lot of times, like you said, you're going down the list. He or she has to have all of these things, but if you're saying that he has to have a house and 2 cars and a certain credit score and all of these things, but then you may be living with somebody else, or you taking an Uber, and I'm not knocking people that do that, but what I'm saying is you want to make sure that you're bringing something similar to the table from the other person. There's some people that are looking for, are you looking for a partner, or are you looking for not really a handout, what's the word, a partner, or I don't know, Randy, what's the word, a partner, or I don't want to say sugar daddy, because that's a whole different lane.
Let's change
a crutch. I don't know. I don't know what to call it, but so, you understand what I'm saying?
I think I know a place where we could take it.
Oh Lord, okay.
So it's like, we all desire companionship to some degree, I guess, right? That's just human nature,
right?
Normal. Like, I don't think anybody. There's some people who may not desire to be in a relationship, right, but they desire things that come from a relationship in many other areas of their life. That's why, like you said, some people just get a little bit of this from someone, a little bit of this from someone,
and then they're satisfied because those needs that they have are met.
See, I think something that's challenged though,
okay,
for both sexes, men and women, right, in relationships, is that we sometimes want. We think we want. We like, let's say, like, I want a wife, but then some of the things that come in being a wife may be challenging or difficult for me to handle.
Right.
Vice versa. Some women say they want a husband, but then some of the things that come with being a husband, and let's take the role of the husband and wife out. Let's just keep it to like man and woman,
like just a relationship.
Yeah. I don't think this is where we can go debate. I think it's challenging sometimes. I think due to our traumas and our history and our issues, there's a lot of women that say they want a man, but then when and it's okay, church, if you want to say amen. It's okay. All right. If you want to say amen, it's okay. It's all right. I'm just saying they say they want a man, but then when that man is asserting himself I'm gonna say in his manly way.
Okay.
Because I think men sometimes get frustrated with women trying to tell them what it means to be a man. I don't.
Oh yeah.
And vice. I mean that happens. I think that happens. I think that happens a lot. Like, you know, and maybe he's just not being the man that you want him to be in that moment. But maybe he's being the man that he feels God is leading him to be. Right. And in those moments, sometimes, and it can go vice versa, women to men. It can be the same thing. A woman could be the woman that she feels like God is leading her to be, and that man may be having some challenges with it. And then in those circumstances, that's where the compatibility conflicts. There's a lack of, because we can't handle that from each other.
Well, I mean, and what's needed there is communication, because what happens is if you have your view of what you bring in the relationship and what your role is supposed to be, and then she does too, and y'all are not communicating and on the same page, then it is going to be problems. Because then that's the thing, like, and that's kind of, and I think we touched some on this before, that like the courting phase has been taken out, the foundation, the building friendships, all of that has been kind of brushed over so much that how much are you really getting to know a person before you're in a relationship? So this, I kind of run into this often, that you're in a full-on relationship, maybe already living together, already have a kid on the way, have like all of these major things that have happened, and then you're like, oh, that by that point where it would be considered that honeymoon phase, that 90 days to 6 months of you still getting to know them, now you're locked in with this person, and now you see all of this stuff that you either didn't know or now you don't like. But now it's hard for you to say, oh, you know, this isn't working out because you have a lease, or you have a kid on the way, or you've already got married, and this stuff hasn't been talked through or established, kind of like what the boundaries or expectations are. And so now it's like panic mode, or trying to decide, can I stay or go? Can I really deal with this? Versus taking the time to really get to know somebody. Yeah. So I think that that's a part of it. I think that, you know, everybody has their expectations for themselves and for who their partner is, but you got to kind of give each other enough time to get to know each other. I mean, to figure that out.
I mean, communication's often like the answer to everything. But unless you got a mediator or someone like it still doesn't mean that the communication is being effective. Well, so like that, I feel like it's more than communication. I think it's communication, and I also think it's grace. I think like we have to have some type of understanding of what we can communicate. Decent, right? Decent. Okay, let's not say great, because part of the problem that we have in issues is because of communication. So let's just say it's decent. Okay. But we got to have some grace for each other. Like, we got to have some understanding for each other. Like, are we, like, if we take ourselves out of the situation, relationship, whatever the case is, and we put someone else in it, would we still have the same issues, or would we have worse issues? Like, what is our tolerance? What is our threshold? What is our patience for understanding or getting through?
Right. And that's the two things you said. Patience and grace is huge. But then also, are you ready for the relationship that you're rolling into? You know, sometimes people, you know, you're I'm single, I'm happy, I'm free, or I'm dating, I'm just kind of playing the field, and then next thing you know, you catch feelings for a certain person that may not be when you thought you were ready, but now it's somebody that you really like, and you don't want to run the risk of losing that person. So then you kind of make a decision because, you know, this has great potential, but you might not really be ready. Or then you have people, like you said before, talking about like everybody has different traumas and different experiences. If you haven't worked through that stuff in your past relationships and things that have happened, you bring all of that stuff into this new relationship unintentionally. But so then as soon as that partner has a bad day or reacts in a way that triggers you, that may just be their personality. They're not doing something intentionally to you, but now you're thinking about what happened in the last relationship or two relationships before that, and it causes drama, you know? So, and again, with that, it could go one way or the other. It could go from that person saying, okay, I need to be able to communicate my feelings, my issues, and my concerns so this other person can understand where I'm coming from or why I reacted how I did. Or it could be, oh, this is a red flag. This is similar to how this last person was, and I didn't pay attention last time. I need to be more vigilant about it now so the same thing doesn't happen again. You know,
a lot of
so
it
it can go either way.
A lot of it, and a lot of it's going to come down to like, where are you at in your life? Where are you at individually, and where are the two of you collectively together?
Right.
You know, it's and a lot of it could be it could be a seasonal thing. It could be, you know,
people come into your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime.
I think that's a good transition point.
Reason, season, or a lifetime.
But don't we sound like some adults though?
We are grown-ups.
Ain't like we ain't got some problems. We got our own issues. But I mean, this is you know, welcome to group therapy. Welcome to group. This is group. So you got some folks who, you know, by I don't know, I guess worldly law. Well, I don't know what it's called. They be together. If you live together, if you live with someone for like 7 years,
common law.
Common law. That's the accountability piece there. They consider themselves married. Right. They are married, I guess. And then you got some people by paper and business and government. And I still see it different. I still see it different. Because at the end of the day, when you got them papers signed and you got all this stuff together, I just don't feel like, and I can speak, this is from my personal perspective, I'm not always going to make my wife happy by any means. We all know that. Okay? But I don't think I can sleep comfortably too many nights knowing that.
Right.
Now I said too many nights. I might can sleep a night.
But it's not gonna last too long. That'll be some long, lonely nights.
Yeah, it can't last too long. That's stressful.
But I mean, with that,
but I'm comparing to people who are just in relationships, not legally married, because they got they can choose to go. And do whatever they can choose. I see it differently.
So one of the things my mom always told me, that it's easier to break up than it is to get a divorce. It's always gonna be easier to break up than it is to get a divorce.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, can you leave in both situations? Yes, but you don't have a clean break. You still have to deal with that other person to a certain extent until all of the legal stuff is done. And so that's why so many people, especially in our communities, they just break up and they just go their stuff and they never get divorced.
Yeah.
I have, you know, people in my family, friends and stuff like that, they have people in their family that have been separated for 10, 20 years, and they're just like, you know, old school, that's just what they did because they didn't want to go through the trouble of having it because it's so much. Whereas now,
old school different.
Old school is very different.
Old school's stubborn enough to stay there and be with your ass forever, miserably. Miserable.
Yeah, and life is too short.
And I understand
I've seen that.
No, but I understand. I understand. Like, there's some things that, you know, credit to the old school that we should really get back to. Some,
yes.
And then there's also parts of life where we evolve. Like, I look at it like this: if you in a relationship, marriage, and you already living in sin, because you already you're not living right.
Like your vows.
You know what I'm saying? You're just not living right. That ain't good. And if you so focused on, you know, trying to abide by what the Bible says, which is the right thing, I guess. But so you don't want divorce because that ain't good. Well, damn, good. Not good times not good is not good.
It's real bad.
So you got to figure out what's the better good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Flashlight on.
Oh, sorry. You got to figure out like what's the best situation because living in sin, miserable, and negatively contribute to the rest of your, not only your mental health,
right,
your physical health, your emotional health, your finance, like your whole life is just bad. You need to see, that's what the old school used to do. Mm-hmm. That's what the old school do, and still do.
Yep.
And won't talk, sleep together, do nothing for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Die, don't even know the other one dead in the other room. You know what I'm
saying? Just to be mean and spiteful.
But also just say, to pastor that we stayed married.
We stayed together.
But what's going to happen when you come to Judgment Day and you face God? Like you didn't live a right life. So
not only a right life, but you weren't happy.
Yeah, I think I feel like the focus is off.
Oh well, so listen, the way that I see it is a lot of relationships, marriages, but also long-term relationships, people kind of fall into this that they choose, and it's unfortunate, but it happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Are you in the relationship or marriage for it to be happy or to maintain a lifestyle? Mm-hmm. And like you said, the same way, like you kind of change over time. So you may have started for happiness, and then over time you stay in it for the lifestyle, because for the kids, for the family, for the status, for who you are to the family and the community and things like that. You're seen as that couple, this parent, y'all are the go-to parents and things like that. So you kind of build your life around being that couple, whether you're married or in a long-term relationship. And so it's one of those things that becomes a part of your identity. Mm-hmm. And so that maintaining that becomes more important than you being happy. The sweet spot is learning how to have a balance of both. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, a lot of couples lose sight of how to maintain both. Mm-hmm. So that's when the trouble comes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was just thinking, like, what do you think's better? Do you think? I guess it depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation. It depends on, because some people want the lifestyle.
I think,
and they're okay with the lifestyle.
And a lot of times when you have children, you're trying to provide the best example.
Right.
An example that society has pretty partially created to say that society's promoted marriage,
right?
And partly because it's the business of marriage supports our economic system,
right.
like being this Western civilization life that we live in.
Yeah, because I mean, marriage is a commitment before God, but it's also very much a business partnership. Yeah. So it just depends on who you're talking to about what they consider more important. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's both. But I think that the older you get, the longer you're in a relationship, the more experiences you have. It changes over time about what's more important. So that's why a lot of times, your kids leave to go to college, and when they come back, one of the parents is in an apartment, or that's when they come home for a break. That's when they find out that the parents are getting divorced, and they were trying to stay together just to get the kid out of the house. I've seen that go two different ways. I've seen kids completely unravel and in shambles, and then I've had other friends, kids that will say, why didn't you y'all should have did this a long time ago. I've known you were miserable. Y'all made me miserable. I could have had a great high school experience if you had done that. You know what I mean? So
you're preaching to me over here.
No, but I'm saying it just it really does depend. I had when I was in college many moons ago, that happened several times, and some of the kids came back and they're like, oh, dad's gone, or mom finally left. Woo, great. And then others, they're in shambles because they thought they had this storybook life because their parents kept all of their troubles away from them, so they had no clue. They were blindsided.
I'm gonna share. Listen, for those who are listening, let me tell you what. Particularly you parents, if you're a parent, like, I ain't gonna put all my business out there, but what I will say is this: I think in a lot of circumstances, parents who stay together because they're trying to, particularly like these will see them off to college or whatever. Right. You're trying to provide an example. You're trying to do what was instilled in you as the right thing. Right. But at some point, you got to come to terms with understanding that long term, it's going to be a disservice to your children, because the children are going to be in a position of where they're gonna feel split at times. You know, they know that you're not happy, and they're gonna be forced to have to pick sides at certain times.
Right.
And so, you know, I think if you're trying to do anything to stick in there for your children, if you are, you know, I think a lot of it's an individual situation. I think the younger you can get out of it, though, the better for the kids, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, the thing is it depends on, you know, not all breakups or divorces are nasty. Sometimes, you know, so if the two people are mature about it, they both agree that they don't want to be together and that the kids are the most important to them, you can do it. I know some people that have done that seamlessly and they co-parent well and is great. But then on the flip side, it can be a total shit show.
Let me ask you this. As a therapist, as a professional counselor, right? How do you balance the line between giving professional advice when it comes to relationship stuff and incorporating your personal piece to it, just from your own experiences and traumas and things like that? Is that hard to separate?
No.
Or is it a part of is your professional advice part of your personal experiences at times too?
Well, I mean, so your personal experience always kind of creeps in there, but it's not like not disclosure. So I'm not talking to my clients saying, oh, because when I went through this is what I did, so this is what you need to do. So not for that, because again, I'm always mindful that this session, this hour that I'm spending is about them. It's not for me. So as a therapist, the only time that you would disclose something personally is if you know that it's going to specifically benefit them. It's because it's not about you. You know, so we use personal disclosure sparingly. But what I do is, one, I'm going to kind of listen, and it's different types of therapy. But like if we're doing like more like what we call solution focused, trying to get different options of how to solve an issue or a problem. Like a lot of times when people come in with relationship issues, they have blinders on. They're just like in the middle of the storm. And so it's kind of helping them pick apart. So you're not telling them what to do. You're listening to and kind of pulling out the different things to help them make their best decision.
Gotcha.
You know, so that's one of the things, like we don't fix it. I don't tell them how to fix it. I don't tell them what to do. I help them you kind of look at the full picture to figure out, okay, this is my best option.
Do you feel like we're kind of practicing that a little bit here? A little bit? The reason why I say that is because so many of the things that we're talking about, I'm trying to be general, but I got my own experience issues, you know, whether it's from my childhood or just relation, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm trying.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, you know, we could share about our personal stuff all the time, but then also having friends and family that have been through this too, like pulling, I mean, life experience in general. You know, it's hard to say that it's never going to be all or nothing because every relationship is unique, but there's similar themes, it's similar issues and similar problems. So that's why I said, you know, before you get into that next serious relationship, take some time with yourself to figure out where you are with the last one, and are you really okay, and are you okay to move forward? And if you're not, that's fine too.
I mean, this is making me think about the men's therapist. What she had to say? I mean,
Jessica was excited. She had no clue that I had mentioned her, and so especially with that being the first soundbite, she's like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
so she was very excited. She was very thankful.
I mean, she might get a couple leads.
Yeah, I'm sure she will.
I'm just thinking like, you still got to be careful on how you market that girl, though. No, young
because
lady.
she's so smart.
Well, I mean,
she's very personable. Man, she's beautiful.
When you tell me this to men, when you tell me that, I'm not talking about me per se. I'm speaking generally from a typical male's perspective, because I seen a couple of them in the comments. I even had a DM on it too. She's the men's therapist. Man, men like to be listened to. Men like to talk. Don't pride yourself on being a man's therapist. Because you're gonna catch a lot of. You don't want all that. You don't want all that.
Okay, but then you gotta think about it from a professional standpoint. Yeah, like even if I've been doing this for 20 years, so I'm not even gonna speak for her. I can speak for myself as a therapist. I've had guys and male and female clients shoot their shot.
Come to see you just to see you.
You gonna let me finish?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
So they do. They come in like, hey, how you doing? And you thinking like, okay, what's going on? Why are you here? Whatever. And then you realize, oh, they're interested. They're whatever. And it's one of those things that it's our responsibility as the professional to keep the boundary, to talk to them about why I understand what you said. That's not appropriate. That's not something that can happen. Ethical boundaries, whatever, however you want to explain it. But it's our responsibility to keep that line in the sand.
Yeah.
So Jessica is very professional.
She's good at that.
Yeah, she's good at it, and especially because her practice is predominantly men.
Yeah.
She's perfectly capable of putting them to the right, to the left. Whatever.
Jessica, we're gonna send them your way. Brother got problems out here, and they need someone to listen to them.
Yes.
All right, play a game.
Okay.
Because I like how you put this thing. You came in here with priorities versus options.
Priorities versus options.
Give me 5 things from. First off, Donald Trump then took away I don't know if we even using pronouns, but I like the fact that you can just refer to me as him.
Okay.
I'm him.
You him?
Yep.
You that guy?
I'm him. But male, female. You strictly male, right? I don't know. I just want to make sure.
Strictly, like, is my preference?
Yes.
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
Strictly male. Yes.
And I don't things change, right? People evolve.
Yeah. Well, I'm 45. Give me 5 years. I might. When I hit the next 5-year mark, we'll circle back.
We'll reevaluate. Give me 5 things from a relationship that are optional, and I also want 5 priorities. This is okay. It's okay. I can take it.
So we're doing options first.
Options versus priorities.
Options. That's not how I meant that. Hold on.
I know. I've already flipped it.
I know. Wait. Options. Okay. So
I can help you. You want some help?
Yeah.
All right. You may say that it's
options.
You may say that it's optional if he's making $50,000 a year. You may say it's not an option. It's a priority that he's making more. I want you to differentiate options that are that could come from a potential partner versus priorities. It's easy if you to name the priorities.
Yeah, it's easy. You're right. That's what I'm saying. It's hard. It's easy to name the priority. Okay, so options.
For me, I'm married, but it's like. I think the point I'm making is we don't come with an agenda. Y'all got lists. I
think options would be like that they have like a lot of hobbies or interests, because it's not that they have to have you got to have something, but you don't have to have a whole lot.
Yeah.
Or maybe
because the downside of that is that if they don't have any areas of interest outside of you, then it's probably going to
right. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that that's why I say it's an option for them to have a lot, but you can't not have any. That's what I'm trying to think of how to answer this. Traveling a lot.
It's optional.
It's the reason again. But are you open-minded to travel? Like, there are people that have not traveled a lot for different reasons. They didn't have people to do it. They scared to fly, whatever. But they may be open-minded to do it. Now, if I meet somebody that just says, I'm in Virginia and I don't ever want to leave, then that's not going to work for me. But it's an option if you have if that person has not traveled as much as I traveled, that's not a deal breaker if they're open to try new stuff. So that's 2.
And I don't want to put pressure on you with 5. Just you can just list what they are, the options. I'm trying to.
That's. I might think you do some, and then let me think, because I'm trying to think of.
So let me ask you: is it optional that they're Christian, or maybe Muslim?
So I think that
now, by the way, you talking about a man, right? Who's supposed to be the spiritual, who's supposed to be the lead of the household.
So
and he might be Buddhist or whatever. He might be something else, and you might have to throw on a,
So
scarf or something.
Because I am Christian, I would prefer to be with someone that is Christian.
So it's not an option.
I don't. Well, I mean, because I know people that are spiritual, but they don't really like, kind of non-denominational. So I would. With that, it could be an option.
You can tell you ain't been on Tinder. I ain't either. But to see, I feel like this is what they do in those games. You gotta
I've never even had a login, so I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, like, it's someone you would have to have a strong spiritual connection.
What about height?
I prefer tall. So,
but it's optional.
Optional.
They can be 5'7".
No.
6.
No. So the option is that you can be
short.
No. I don't know, because that's a priority. So an option would be if you were 5'9", 5'10".
Okay.
That would be an option.
Okay.
A priority is that you're over 6 feet.
Can you be white?
So you know what? I've had conversations with people about this. There are white guys that I'm attracted to, but I never see them in Richmond. I don't know how to explain it.
You gonna see them now.
But and so because there were times. So there were times, and because we've been through this craziness together. There were times that I was single, and again, like I said, I don't date well because people are like, just date, just go out, go date people, get to know, and I would end up in a relationship. And so I'm like, there was a time that I had some friends that I work with, and they were like, look, we're going to set you up with some people. And so some of my two of my guys, we had a conversation about, they were like, Nikki, have you ever been out with a white guy? And I'm like, white guys don't like me. And they actually, we were at lunch, and they said, Nikki, white guys like you, they don't talk to you because you're intimidating. And I'm like, what? And this was when I was in my 20s, like late 20s. And I'm like, I'm not intimidating. I'm nice. And so I'm like offended. And they're like, no, you're very nice. But they told me, and it's again coming from two of my white guy friends, they're like, white guys go for certain types of black girls. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? So it was the two of them and another one of my friends that were at this lunch. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, white guys go for a certain type of girls. You're just too aggressive. And I'm like, so the words that they were using, I'm like, I don't see myself as being aggressive. And so they said that there would be white guys that are interested in me, but they would not approach me because they would assume that I wasn't interested in white guys. So it's just one of those things. So I've never dated a white guy because I see white guys that I think are attractive on TV or in other places, but I haven't been in Short Pump and be like, oh, he fine. This just never happened.
Yo, audience, let us know where the white guys are. Definitely don't think you aggressive. You might just don't think I'm aggressive. You just might not have. You might just have that like. You might not have a white R, or something like you got that. your persona comes off as like I'm just, probably black men.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of what they were saying. They said that I didn't kind of give off the I date white guys vibe. And back then, and you knew me in my 20s. I was a little rough around the edges. I could kind of understand it now. I was offended back then, but now I think it's funny. But,
By the way, this episode is being sponsored by Love Connection. I'm Chuck Woolery. This might just be the episode to set you.
There you go.
We got time-wise, we got about like 10, 15 minutes here. I don't want to, I'm just sitting here.
So you asked about options for me. What are your priorities, or like what were your priorities when you were looking to start your relationship? Well, I was fortunate to have
you in my life.
I mean, I did. I handpicked her.
I don't need to say.
I handpicked her.
Pretty much. Like we can get into that story one day too, because I don't know. We can get into that story one day too, because, I don't know. We can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into that story one day too, because, we can get into I don't know, like Nikki was kind of operating as this kind of spirit, I guess, because I was saying things to her, and my wife was saying things to her, and we was kind of sharing similar things, but never really shared them with each other. And one day, we just ended up to be at the same place at the same time, and
the stars aligned.
That's when you stop providing therapy to me. It was a conflict of interest. But I think the priorities for me were priorities are like, I mean, I think I can speak for Mia as well on this one. Like, she kind of listed, she probably put them out, like, basically having a partner that you can collaborate and build with.
Yes.
I think that's important. Like, I'm not the type of guy that can afford to create a life. I mean, the life that I want to live and the life that I think we want to live, it's going to take us working together to get it together.
Make it happen. Yep.
Unless something happens where, you know, I'm able to really be him for real, then we got to work together. And I think that's a priority number one.
Right.
Priority number two would be, I don't know if I got numbers. That's a big one though. Just being able to work together, because historically in my life, I haven't always had that experience.
Right.
You know, I think having having a belief system is important. Y'all want me to get to it though. Let me skip the bullshit here. I gotta like what you look like, straight up.
Right,
like I'm not even gonna
pretend.
I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm gonna be comfortable rolling over and not being happy with what I'm seeing. That's important,
right?
You know what I'm saying? I think I need to feel like I'm cared about.
Like you're important.
I need to feel that. Yeah, you know, I need to, you know, now, I'm not always allowed to be vulnerable in my relationship. My wife don't play that vulnerable shit. She say that's what you need friends for. Don't be coming home crying to me. But you know what? That's that compromise. We learn each other, and you know, you learn. But at the end of the day, though, me as a Virgo, I think, right? Is that what it is?
Yes.
I'm not good at this. So what I've learned about me is that her love language is brutal, direct honesty.
That is not a love language.
She gonna let you know how she feel, and it might hurt, but it's love. That's not a love language?
Not a love language.
It's not?
No.
Oh, I ain't read no book about
words
love languages.
Words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch.
Man, that's the book.
Acts of service.
That's yeah. I mean, and she got a lot of those too. Particularly acts of service.
You just added a new one in there. You threw that in there.
No, but it's real though. I've accepted. I think she would say that. I think I've accepted, like, you know, her words can be strong and direct. Or at least I can feel. That's the way I can interpret them. But you know,
I think, and again, I think for y'all it's all of, like we were talking about before, finding the balance. I think that the difference in your personalities is what makes y'all have a good balance.
We've grown a lot.
Yes, you have.
We've grown a lot, and I think that we are. I think it's fair to say that we've contributed to each other's growth, and a lot of things. Though I think, I think one of the biggest things that is not. I think we have to learn and have learned is like learning how to, like, sometimes it's just learning how to move on. Yep. It's easy to stay in. It's easy to stay in it, and you're gonna stay in it. Sometimes it's gonna sometimes be longer than a day.
Oh, definitely.
It might be a few, but sometimes it does. At some point, you gotta pick it up and move on, and you gotta be willing to sort it out. Though you can't just skip over. Like if you have issues or concerns, you don't just sweep it under the rug and keep it moving. You have to be able to address it to really move on. Because if not, you pull that into the next argument, into the next thing, into the next issue, and then you're arguing about 10 things instead of 2. Yeah, she reminded me the other day of time I didn't come pull her out of the snow. I'm still gonna catch it. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I get reminded about Valentine's Day. I'm gonna get reminded about stuff forever. But
The snow debacle.
But my partner is definitely my friend.
And that's one of my priorities. That I agree about being a team and having that spiritual connectedness, but we have to be friends.
Yeah,
we have to be friends. We have to, like you said, want to be able to build together. But I want to to be able to laugh, be able to enjoy. Because again, there's so many people that are in relationships with people that you're in a relationship before you really know who you're dealing with. So I know so many people that are in full-on committed relationships and they don't like each other.
Yeah,
they don't like it, or they don't, or not even to that point, they don't really enjoy each other's company. So for me, I want to, my priority is to be in a relationship that I can have fun if we're on a vacation, if we are at a bar eating wings, or if we chilling watching Netflix. We should be, that I should be able to enjoy in each different space. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah. At this point in your life, and this is, I take what you write, and I might twist it a little bit.
Lord.
But at this point in your life, like, are there parts of you that you've lost, that you regret, that you're trying to find back? And I can answer the same thing as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Or there are parts of you that you're finding that you never knew you had. Answer both.
So I was a lot more...
This is so therapeutic, by the way.
I was more... I think I was more assertive when I was younger in certain situations. And then especially like during COVID, like over these last years, I feel like I lost a lot of my fight just because so much, and this happened with a lot of people during COVID, so much was going on in the world with your job, personally, family, people getting sick, like it was just so much going on that it was so heavy. And so from my work responsibilities and for kind of like who I am to my family and friends, it was just so much. And it's like trying to be there and be everything for everybody else that I just kind of lost my fight, like that oomph and that like that push for myself. Yeah. So whereas I would be more assertive and put my foot down and kind of hold space for me more, I fell off from doing that because I was trying to do that for everybody else. Yeah. So I kind of fell into the cycle that I always talk to my clients about, like, that you have to kind of, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to be able to kind of fill yourself back up so that you can be there for everybody else. That happened with me. And because I know how that feels, I don't want that to happen again. So I have to be, I'm more mindful of it now. So like I schedule self-care. I schedule, like, me and I, we putting our dates on the, so we can go and have happy hour, go to dinner.
She got a calendar now.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But it's stuff like that, like to make sure the same way that you have to be intentional about whether you're in a long-term relationship, whether you're married and stuff like that, you have to continue to date. You have to continue to date your partner, but you also have to make sure that you keep those active connections with your family and friends. Yeah. So, and learning how to balance those things, because again, everybody's busy. You have kids, you have work, you have your relationships. And again, like you kind of like what you were talking about, the happiness part, like you want to know that your partner is happy, but you can't hold yourself fully responsible for their happiness. You know what I mean? You play a part in helping them to be that way. Yeah. But it's not your sole responsibility, because they have to make that decision. They have to put the work in too. You can make it easier for them to be happy. You can contribute to their happiness. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's a big part for me, is just trying to make sure that I hold time and space for me to kind of recharge so that I can be the best mom, director, girlfriend, wife, daughter, like all these, whatever roles, I play, or whatever roles women play in their lives, to be able to be that best person. You have to hold space for you so that you can do that stuff for others. Yeah. So that's, for me, that's what
what have I lost? I don't think that I don't know if I've lost anything. I mean, I think that I just think that if I said that this is the fourth time I think. I mean, I guess I need to say what I think. I don't know. I don't think that marriage is contributing to me losing a part of who I am. Mm-hmm. But I think that not marriage. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that I think my son's getting older, mm-hmm. and that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. I just think that I think if anything, responsibility though. Right. It's not marriage. Mm-hmm. I don't, I mean, you have a responsibility in marriage, mm-hmm. but I just think like, I know that if I didn't feel responsible mm-hmm. for being, engaged and mm-hmm. visible in my son's life particularly, like I don't mm-hmm. feel like Mia's holding me back. Mm-hmm. I just know that if it wasn't like the responsibility, I think I say this for us together collectively. Mm-hmm. I think because of parenting, mm-hmm. there's just things now that have to take priority because right. if it mm-hmm. wasn't that piece, right. mm-hmm. then I would be doing, there'd be a lot of things that I used mm-hmm. to do that mm-hmm. I'd probably do more.
No, and I feel you on that.
You know
yes,
what I'm saying?
I do. Because it's a big adjustment. You have to kind of pivot.
Parenting and marriage has probably saved my life too, though. Because
I can see that.
If mm-hmm. not, I probably
Where would you be, Randy?
I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I might not. I mean, I'd probably, I'd probably not be healthy. I wouldn't be as healthy. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that with
habits would have taken over.
Yeah. Because with me, like I always say my 20s and 30s don't owe me anything because mm-hmm. I did so much of what I wanted to do. Whether it be professionally, personally, traveling, like mm-hmm. I accomplished so much with what I wanted mm-hmm. to do before I had my son mm-hmm. that I didn't, and I know people that have had, kids young, older, different, they have the kids that have like the big age gap and, mm-hmm. And the difference in the parent that they say they were for the first set to the second set. I think that when I had him, I was really intentional about kind of, I scaled back on a lot of the work stuff that I was doing, on a lot of the things that I did personally, whether it be traveling, hanging out and things like that, because I wanted to focus time and attention on him. And then it was one of those things that like, okay, you're my son, you're a part of my life, you're coming with me. Mm-hmm. So I take him with me wherever I go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that
progression and evolution of a parenthood.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of those things that now our calendars have kind of merged, so mm-hmm. his parties and his training classes and soccer and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay, well now I have a dinner and he's coming with me and he's at my office under the conference table. Mm-hmm. And so he's very much immersed in my life, mm-hmm. and so now when I travel, he comes with me. Yeah. And we have fun together, so I'm still able to enjoy my life. It's just different.
It's a different life,
it's a different type of enjoyment,
and it's it's all contributing to the maturation process right. for you and him, mm-hmm. really, because he's getting an opportunity to mm-hmm. probably experience things and grow and mm-hmm. maybe at a younger age than you did.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I didn't leave the country until I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. He's had a passport since he was 2. Isn't that we are not having the same childhood? Yeah. Our childhoods are absolutely not alike.
Well, we will be going to Jamaica this week.
Yay!
And you guys may see some content.
Fun in the sun.
I'm gonna take the camera.
Oh God.
I'm gonna create some bloopers and stuff so I can see if I can get Casey to rock it out, put it together for us.
That'll be fun. We're gonna have a time.
This was a very therapeutic conversation, I feel like.
It was.
This was a group.
Deep.
Yeah. Y'all tell us what y'all think in the comments on this show. This has been another episode of the Randy Wilson Podcast. Remember, you can find this podcast everywhere podcasts are played for the most part. And you can go over to YouTube and go over to randywilsonpodcast.com. And if you got some thoughts or some questions or some comments or some suggestions or some people that you'd like to maybe even see in an upcoming episode, make sure you drop it in the comments or drop it in the inbox. And soon we'll be having some guests coming through the show. We'll have supposed to be getting them sit down with Mayor Danny Avula soon, and the cast host from Living 757 want to come up and have a big show.
Like, that'll be fun.
That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. So appreciate you all tuning in, and we're out.